Okay, looks like we're starting. Make sure I'm actually plugged into the internet and not going over Wi-Fi. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Glamorous Dayton Studios here. I'm just going to jump into things. I've kind of got the files ready. Please tell me if there are any audio issues. It looks like I am getting some sort of audio signal here. So I'm going to switch to sharing my screen, and we will get going on this. Let's see, sharing screen, settings, microphone, capture, screen share, there we go. All right. Cool. All right, let's jump in. So I've already done a little bit of preparation here. May look a little bit odd, but I have a template that I use for putting all my pages together. And now I am just let's see, turn that on. I've already laid in the latest page. I scanned it in and kind of cleaned it up, removed all the blue line from it. I might do a little more cleanup on it since I don't ever do threshold, which is like one way to clean up a comic page, where you get pure blacks and pure whites. I don't do that because I have a lot of dry brush effects in the stuff that I do, and doing threshold gets rid of those effects. So this is a new install of Photoshop, so I'm going to remove getting some like snapping to guides, so I need to remove that. Smart guides. That's it. All right. Let's see. Let's just turn the opacity down on my template so I can line everything up correctly. So, okay, it's still kind of snapping. That should be, where is that? Snap. Turn that off. No snap. Okay, better. It's not exactly fitting my template. I'm still kind of like trying to get a standardized format, but I haven't been totally consistent, so I'm going to cut off a little bit of my actual art here. All right, and even though I have set up, let's see, I don't need to see this. All right, and sorry, I'm just still fiddling with kind of video stuff here. Let's see, I don't need to see this. Sorry, okay. Let's see, I think we should be good. Okay, back to what we're doing. Okay, so I'm trying to get in the habit of actually drawing in borders in my pages, since I have received some advice that at any point I want to sell them to collectors. I need more finished looking pages than what I usually do. In the past, I've kind of had very unfinished looking pages, and then kind of clean things up digitally. I'm trying to have more finished looking pages. But I'm still going to kind of clean things up in here and kind of add in some prettier borders. So let's see. Verticals. So you'll see this kind of these crisscrossing borders I've got going on here. Just laying these in. And removing some. Oops, not what I want. Okay, stop doing that. I did this before. Okay, I'm just going to kind of take a look over the page. Now that I've got kind of all of the paneling kind of set up how I want it, and I just kind of want to make sure everything is looking decent. See if I want to add any little things here and there, if I need to erase anything. Okay. You still have some little artifacts left over from the blue line. Some of this stuff I'm just going to leave in. Like I said, I like to keep the dry brush effects, and sometimes that means some of the blues kind of get staying there. I'm probably not the best at doing this type of thing. I'm just going to try one more little level pass here, see if I can get this to feel a little more. Oh, let's do it. I do a adjustment layer here, actually. I don't know if you can see, but there's some grays in here. Oh, there you go. I'm just trying to get rid of. There we go. Okay, that looks a lot nicer. Okay. It's actually been a little while since I've toned a page last. So some of this is like, I can't remember what I was doing, and I clearly have not loaded my brushes. So I'm gonna have to load my brushes. All right, brushes. Where did I put you? Brushes. Okay. Let's see. Window. How do I add? Here we go. Replace brushes. My own brushes. All right, there's my brushes. All right, I'm gonna want these because I'm gonna be doing some little texture effects if we get that far. All right, I'm just gonna kind of clean up some of these edges just a little bit. I'll look at the original page too. I'm just looking at the original page, just kind of referencing it, just to make sure I'm not losing any little bits of detail here. All right, it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to get ready to start toning this. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up some reference. I'm trying to do kind of a manga style of toning where I really don't do a lot of rendering in my toning. My toning is much more about kind of reinforcing the composition. So I like to look at pages from Pluto. That's kind of my favorite reference point. Pluto is a comic by, if you're not familiar with it, by Naoki Urasawa, I believe, if I'm right. That's basically an adaptation of Tezuka's Astro Boy. Yeah, if you look at some of his images, the way tone is used, it's really not about rendering, right? It's really about just kind of reinforcing what's going on with the ink work. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the toning that I'm doing. Here's another great example. It's pretty subtle. I mean, the toning here is really just kind of vignetting the picture. You're getting kind of these darkened edges, and then a little bit of indication of shading. Every once in a while, I may add some for effect, but for the most part, it's mostly about just kind of reinforcing things. So I'm just going to kind of find an image, and I'm just looking through these images just to kind of like get the concept in my mind. Some of the things I'm looking at are, for example, this image here of North number 4. There's just this kind of gray tone behind his head, and I think I might use something like that. Just trying to kind of remind myself of the kind of stylistic conventions. Let's look at this one. Okay. All right. All right, I'm just going to set this aside. So that's going to be kind of my little reminder there. And let's see now. I think I should probably... All right. Now I think I'm going to try to separate out the lines. So I'm doing, I guess, command click on one of the channels. And then I'm inverting that selection that it's going to make. Now I'm going to fill it with black. Oops, that was white. Add black. So what this has done, before I had a black and white image. Now what this is just black lines on transparency. So this is going to allow me to do things like color the lines if I choose to do that. And I certainly know one case where I want to do that. Normally what I like to do is places where I want to color the lines are usually going to be kind of things in the background. So, you know, I can jump around quite a bit when I do this stuff. I'm going to do this right now. I'm just kind of going through here and I'm creating a selection of this background. And I went too far because I got up into this other one. All right. Create a new layer. Select. I should have saved that selection, actually. Okay, yeah. We're just going to pop some gray on there. So that'll just help give us a little sense of this being in the distance. I've got it on a separate layer that's basically okay. And it'll probably, let's see, brushes, stroke them, right? Don't need to see all this stuff. There we go. Move this. All right, anyway. Just gonna grab an airbrush. So I've got this background with the monastery. And what I want to do is now I want to just kind of connect that distant stuff to this foreground image. So I'm just going to come and just brush in a little bit of gray into this midground. I don't want it to be as gray as the background. And then I'm going to erase out somewhere it hits this black area, which is supposed to be blood. I want that to stay dark all the way to the background. So that's kind of one area where I may kind of use tone to to change the color of the lines. I'm also going to do it right here, this background. I'm using the pen tool this time to make the selection. One of the nice things about using the pen tool to make a selection is you don't get the issue of accidentally double-clicking and telling Photoshop to connect your selection too early, which can be pretty frustrating and lead to some really ugly results. Shh. Quiet fun. Okay. Paths. Right click on the path and make a selection. And it didn't do anything. Let's try that again. Let's make sure it's all selected first. Come on now. Oops. It's bringing up dialogues on my other screen. Okay. And I'm just going to do a fill there, and then that'll kind of push that tone in the background. Now one other thing I want to do is I'm going to play with value on this just a touch. So come back and get an eraser, get kind of airbrush brush. So I'm going to erase out some of the tone I put in here. Just get these edges a little darker. I think I'm actually going to bring some of this other stuff to white. I'm not super crazy about how I did. Okay. Okay, what to do now? Well, I'm really not sure what my plan of attack here is going to be. One thing I should do is I'm going to bring up some images from my comic too that I've done in the past. Oh, this is what you get for like not being consistent with doing your webcomic, is you forget how the heck you're doing everything. All right, I'm gonna look at this page. So this page is actually done by Owen Jollins, colorist, and he's one of my patrons on Patreon. He helps me do toning on my pages. So this is good to kind of look back at this. So again, kind of to point out what I'm talking about using tone to enhance the composition. The focal point in this composition is this deer running. So that's why we've got this contrast in value where the deer is really bright white. And then we've taken this forest, and this forest is a much darker tone. And you notice there still is variation in tone in the forest. The trees have some variation in tone, but you know, the relative contrast is much less. Then you can see we've got this background area that again is meant to look really like there's this atmosphere there. So we took the line tone and just lightened it to give that sense of distance. And again, things aren't rendered. You'll notice I'm just you know, kind of the plan is that we're just kind of like separating things using tone, kind of letting things stand out. So you got to figure out how I want that to work in this page. Kind of one of the conventions I've been doing is I kind of want to be consistent in this sense of, you know, toning with the right shades of gray. I have to pull up one of my older images. Let's this. All right. I'm gonna open up an image. I'm just gonna kind of bring this in to use as a toning guide as well. And we can keep it little. Okay. All right. All right, sorry about that. Okay. All right. All right. Start by just adding tone to each of these figures. The scene that I'm doing here too is someone telling a story. So right now I'm just kind of pondering if there might be kind of a way to stylize this. I mean, it already is kind of stylized in the way it's drawn. Kind of thinking maybe it might be cool just to make these guys into silhouettes. I mean, I've got this guy to the right that's getting hit with a spear. That's definitely kind of in silhouette. Might be interesting to do that with everyone else. All right, I gotta go underneath here to that. There we go. Beautiful, clean line work here. Check out this awesome anatomy on this guy's arm. This is what years of experience figure drawing will teach you, is how to make an arm look like a noodle. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to darken this a little bit. Yeah. I don't know if you can see. It may look like I'm doing nothing right now. I'm just creating a selection. All right, I'm thinking adding some sort of texture. Texture brush. Texture brush. Here we go. I want to try to get this texture to feel like it kind of matches the flow of the ground plane. Okay. All right, I like that. What's this? I've been trying to do my word balloons by hand. They look pretty sloppy. Cool little trick. You know, Photoshop, you can click on these little on your tool palette here. Sometimes it'll give you 3 different options. For example, L, you can switch between the lasso tool or the polygonal lasso tool or the magnetic lasso tool, which I've never used in my life. Any of these tools that have a shortcut key and then have an arrow with additional selections, you can swap between those by hitting Shift and then the hotcut key. For example, the marquee tool, if you want to switch between square marquee and the circle marquee, just hit Shift M, and it'll switch between those 2 different types of selection tool. Just learned that like last year. So I'm sure there's all of you out there that already know that. They're laughing at me. All right. Adding in some additional texture the most inefficient way possible. Let's do a little bit of traditional airbrush there too. Okay. All right, and there you see no rendering, just me laying in some tone. I think I'm going to just do one more little thing here. I'm just going to airbrush in a little bit of a gradient. So the figure in the middle is kind of the lightest, but it's pretty subtle. That's probably good for that panel. So let's move on to this next panel, which I don't think is going to be too crazy. Most time-consuming thing here is just making selections on things. Because of the way I ink too, makes it really difficult to do any kind of quick tricks to fill in stuff. You can't really like run any plugins that will, you know, fill in all the, what do they call, like those flatting, like a flatting plugin. Yeah, flatting plugins don't really work with the stuff I do. I just have too many just dry brush things going on, and sadly that doesn't work. So just got to use selections and things. Okay. All right. This works okay. All right, and you know, I'm trying to make judgments as I go along here about where to put tone, where not to put tone. I think I'm going to create a little gradient in here too. You know, maybe I want things to stand out a little bit more, so I'm not going to put tone. For example, the selection doesn't go into the spear area. I didn't put in his beard either, but I think I should. I'm actually going to take the airbrush to do that, just because I don't want there to be like a harsh edge in the beard and like any of the hair areas. So I'll keep the edge soft, and it should be the same color as what I'm doing, so it doesn't look so weird. My gradient didn't turn out so good there. Why does it look like radial? It looks like a radial gradient right now. It's not a radial. Whatever, okay, that must be right. It still seems kind of dark though. It doesn't need to be crazy dark. I'd like this image to have a little bit of a feel like it's you know, there's a fill. There's a little bit of a fill going on here, even though it's in shadow. And let's find the selection again. Oh, confound you, magnetic lasso. I'm going to tweak the line color here again. Mine's a little warm, but just to kind of unify this little touch. Okay. I'll come back in though and kind of erase out some of these blood areas. It's a big difference, but all right. So now what I'm looking at are these kind of abstract shapes around him. You know, I'm looking at these crunchies flying around. And what I'm trying to decide is, do I want to darken them, or do I want to put some tone in the background instead? Some very light tone that make those pop out slightly. I don't know. Either way, selecting them out doesn't look like it's going to be very fun. But this one may be one where I could fake things by doing a little selection. All right, let's see how that works. All right, let's see. I can mask out of this so I can adjust that if it looks crud, like crud. Oh, already know I don't like it. Okay. That made it easy. All right, we're going to darken these. All right. I want to go a little bit darker than the tone I put onto him. Yeah, that turned out pretty good. Go and select every single one of those stupid things. Now, one other thing I should do here that I haven't done yet is change the mode to grayscale, since I'm getting these weird don't rasterize. Discard color information. All right, that'll work. Now we're just like zipping through this. Let's get rid of some of this. Okay, I don't need to be so careful. know what's going on the side here. Oh, he's holding a crucifix. That's what that is. What is that weird shape? All right, make sure that. Maybe I can clarify that a little bit. Yeah, that makes more sense now. Mix it up just a little bit so we can tell, maybe tell a little bit better what's going on here. Okay, that's better. All right. Let's create a little sense of atmosphere, at least with the foreground monks and this monk in the background. Maybe we'll do it again. I'm just going to pop out a little bit of airbrush. Bada bing. Yeah. Okay. All right, that helps to kind of separate them. I'm going to go back in and add a little bit of atmosphere on the lines as well. Good. A little bit on this guy right here too. Just a little bit. Okay, and to kind of balance the composition out here, I've got this kind of dust in the back, which I should just fill in with a similar color to what I've got going on here. Some of these other dudes. Just so we kind of feel like this whole so we can kind of think about this whole rather than this composition being composed of you know, 4 different objects, you know, the 3 monks in this kind of trail of smoke. It'd be nice to have kind of your first read kind of more this mass of this mask on the bottom that is the smoke and the monks all kind of together. And then you can break it down further from there. That's not my favorite composition. My favorite composition ever. Okay. Man, I feel like I should be doing more, but everything's looking pretty good. I don't know. I'm feeling like lazy with what I'm doing right now, but I mean, it's feeling okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about composition here. So in this next panel here, we've got this knight standing over this pile of dead bodies. There are really only three important elements to this composition. There is the knight, there are the bodies, and let me just sketch this out. I'm trying to get rid of this thing. Trying to get rid of this, the whole dock thing. Can I move it down? Okay, there we go. Get that out of the way. All right. Well, I got rid of color, so I'm going to change the mode back to color again. To do this, don't merge, don't rasterize. So this is, anytime you're working with kind of a more complex composition that involves a lot of parts, really best if, when you start out to first think about it in the most simple terms possible. I really have three, or like I said, three things going on here. I've got the knight standing here. That's part number one. I've got this arc around him of dead bodies. That's kind of the second part. You know, and then I've got the speech bubble. I mean, you may say that I've also got kind of this vignette going on around him too. But if you look at what I'm trying to do with this, you know, everything kind of works together to bring your attention to the stuff that matters. You know, the vignetting and the framing kind of is supposed to bring your attention to the knight and the word balloon. You know, and your eyes hopefully kind of follow the dead bodies. You kind of look at them. Anyway. But yeah, it's supposed to, there's really just those three elements. And then from there, it's just a matter of adding detail to them. But why that matters because as I'm toning this page, those three subdivisions kind of determine how I'm going to tone this page. You know, the massive bodies will probably be a single tone. I may have some slight variation within there, but they're going to be a single tone, and then the knight's going to be a single. Well, it'll be close to a single tone. I may vary it a little bit with his. I don't know what the technical term for this thing he's wearing, but he's got his like kind of white smock he's wearing. But I want each of those two areas to stand out by tone. So first of all, the area of corpses is going to kind of be unified by one tone. and then the night is going to be unified by another tone, with slight variations within those tones. So let's start kind of putting some of that in. I've been doing selections before, but I'm just using my brush now on this. Another good example of how not methodical I am with my approach to some of this stuff. You know, as I was kind of brushing this in, I've had a moment on his leg where for a second it kind of felt a little bit like there was a rim light on there. So I may go back in and kind of just indicate a rim light, which won't, I think his silhouette will still stand out just fine if I do that. It shouldn't ruin things. Or may just give it a nice little extra effect there. So I'll kind of just fill in. Okay. And I like the idea of the rim light. I kind of feel like, again, he's kind of backlit. I almost feel like I want to make it feel almost like there's a light source right here. Like that's kind of where it's going to be light. So let's really quickly come in. I'm just testing this out. See how it feels to have a little bit of a rim light. Yeah, it's okay. You have to do something with the line work too to make that read right. Yeah, I'll probably do something with that. So it's kind of really loosely done right now. All right, now, okay. I'm gonna come in and just create a selection. And I'll lighten up the corpses, these foreground corpses a little bit. Maybe that's too much. Let's turn down the opacity. So I'm going to be smart and do this next selection with the path tool as I should. Oh, you know what else I will probably do? Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, yeah, because I'm just going to go. I'm just going to create a transition in the line. So. Is that even doing anything? Oh yeah, I forgot it's low opacity. I'm trying to create a subtle transition from background to foreground. Oh, goodness gracious. It's almost already been an hour. Really close to finishing this, but you know, I'm gonna call it for tonight. But yeah, I could probably finish this up in another half hour, I think. Yeah, pretty dang close. So that actually went pretty quick. A little bit rusty, probably as I kind of get back in the swing of doing these things. It should go a little bit more quickly. Anyway, if anyone has any questions or comments, you know, feel free to leave them on like the YouTube thing there. You know, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. Pretty easy to find on all those. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.